YouTube breaking news. What's up, YouTube? Got some news to inform you guys about if y'all don't already know. There's a list that they're putting out of cities that Russia plans to hit with nukes, allegedly. And they say if the warning goes off, right, once the nuke hits, you got 15 minutes to figure out what you're going to do if you wasn't in the initial blast. So we're going to listen to Steve Ram. Fair use on the content of Steve Ram. We're going to hear what he's talking about. I don't know, man. Putin already said he ain't giving no more warnings. He said he was done, and America shouldn't have did what they did by giving Ukraine those missiles to send over there to attack Russian soil with American-made missiles. So they're saying it's America's fault, and it's too late now. So let's listen to what Steve Ram got to say about the cities on the list of a nuke attack. Let's go.
So what you are looking at is a map of Washington, D.C. if it was to be hit by a nuclear ICBM, one of the strongest ones, the Satan II, that is current.
You want to check? Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Right there it goes. They're saying if the nuke would hit the White House, it would spread out. So, see Washington, D.C. there. If you go out, spread out. Baltimore's right there. So, all these towns, Gaithersburg, Maryland, Fairfax, all them places would be wiped out. So if y'all live in that area, man, y'all should be ready. There's no getting water and supplies ready. Let's go.
Held by Russia. Now, I've got new information that has just been released by the U.S. government. I'm going to be sharing with you the latest on this. Now, take a look. This article is going to be releasing some of the maps. Nuclear bomb map shows the impacts of Russian weapons on major U.S. cities. I'm going to be going through all of these as we're hearing that there is a list of major cities that will likely be hit by nuclear weapons. These will be the primary of Russia.
He said would likely be hit.
They were to strike. So I'm going to be going through this. And in addition to this, I also shared with you in a previous upload that right now we are hearing that FEMA, the U.S. government, has actually released an updated nuclear guide to prevent radiation exposure. We heard that the UK is telling their citizens to get ready. Various nations, now the United States is letting their citizens know, here are some updates, some guides. If we were to have a nuclear explosion, a bomb to go off in the U.S., here is what you need to take into consideration. And in addition to that, nuclear apocalypse map shows the best and worst U.S. states to live in case of Armageddon. They're saying Vermont is where you want to be. Hawaii, you pretty much have got no chance. So I'm going to be covering all of these updates for you, letting you know what cities to watch out for, how far these blasts are going to reach. If you're in New York, California, Los Angeles, San Diego, Houston, Chicago, a lot of these cities are on the list. I'm going to be covering all of the maps for you. You can see how far the blasts are. You're going to be able to see, is where I live, my house, in the middle of these blasts. Also, they're saying if we do have a warning coming out, you have about 15 minutes to decide what it is you're going to do if you can get out of the blast radius. I'm going to share with you all the latest information coming out. And like I said, these updates just recently coming out in the past couple of days. I know a lot of people saying we've had these updates for quite some time. There's a lot of information out there that's old. These are new ones that have now been recently released with everything that's currently going on. But let us pray that nothing goes this route of all-out nuclear war. However, I'm going to make sure that you have the latest information so you know exactly what is going on. And if you appreciate that, do me a favor, take a quick second, hit the like button for me. So we've got 2,200 people live with me, almost 300 likes. If we get half the room to hit the like button, help spread this out further so more people can get the latest information. Somebody's saying they'd rather be vaporized. Yes, I'm going to be sharing with you the circles where it says that if it hits, you will be vaporized. You don't have to worry about it. Also, in addition to that, to stay up to date, hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. Why not? And in addition to that, somebody was asking about resources. They're linked down below. Somebody was asking about my microphone. Yeah, if you are looking to get Black Friday deals on setups, if you're trying to start a YouTube channel,
I ain't trying to be vaporized.
Stock up on supplies and
that.
various Amazon links down below so you can get access. Now's the time to do it with the sales that are currently going on if you wanted to stock up on things. But let me go ahead and get you guys caught up in the latest as to what is going on so that way you can see it for yourself with all the warnings that are currently going out. So first, let's go ahead and start off with this Washington, D.C. map so you can see exactly what is taking place here. So this map that you were looking at, the inner yellow circle is the fireball radius in which everything would be vaporized by intense heat rising to millions of degrees Fahrenheit. This would reach about 15.1 square miles. And again, just to clarify a little bit more detail on this, they are saying that this is estimations on cities. If Moscow, if Russia were to attack with a R-36M2, also known as the SS-18 Satan, this is one of the largest and most powerful heavy intercontinental ballistic missile ICBMs.
The Satan, they call it the missile. That's the Satan. That's just crazy. Crazy work, y'all.
They're saying these are multiple times more powerful than what we saw.
Shout out to Steve Rand
in Nagasaki. So this map shows.
Shout out to Steve Rand.
Yellow circle. That is the vaporization zone. Millions and millions of degrees Fahrenheit, 15.1 square miles. Everything in that inner circle vaporized. That is the
vaporization
that you would see take place, and then you would see that mushroom cloud come out of there. Now, the more moderate blast damage radius is the inner gray circle, covering 442 square miles of blast.
Radiation
that would destroy residents, buildings, and probably cause widespread fire all throughout that inner gray circle.
Skin burning.
Anyone within 2,360 square miles of the explosion, that is the thermal radiation radius. It is the wide orange circle, and you would be at risk of suffering third-degree burns throughout your skin. But it says it's often painless because they destroy the pain nerves, but you very likely will not last too much longer after that due to radiation exposure and burns, which can cause severe scarring, disablement, require amputation. Now, within the light blast,
if there's no hospitals to help you, how you going to get your arm amputated? You're not going to get no help because everybody, the hospitals and everything
would shatter, and this would be expected to break. That could cause injuries. So you want to be out of the yellow areas. The gray area, you will still feel the impacts of it, but you won't feel the necessary damage that would cause life-ending issues. So this particular one for Washington, D.C. and the U.S. Capitol, where there's given about a 24-hour period, there would be 6 million people within any 24-hour period that would get the full blast range of all 4 circles of the simulation detonation. 1.6 million people would lose their lives. 2 million people would sustain injuries. The fireball radius would include all of Capitol Hill. So that is for Washington, D.C. Now, in addition to that, let's go ahead and take a look at New York. So
New York.
In the comments, do you live in any of these major cities? Do you live in New York? We're going to be covering New York now in detail for you. So New York here, you can see in the New York, during any given 24-hour period, you can see this will reach all the way out to Long Island. 16.2 million people on average would be present in a full blast range. An estimated 5.4 million people would period, there are on average 12 million people in the full blast range, all four circles of the simulated detonation. Thermal radiation will reach all the way out to Long Island. 16.2 million people on average would be present in a full blast range. An estimated 5.4 million people would lose their lives, 5.6 would suffer injuries. The light blast damage range would extend all the way to New Brunswick and Stamford for New York.
Yonkers.
Next up, we have Los Angeles.
LA.
Los Angeles, some 2.7 million people would lose
Los
their lives.
Angeles.
4.3 million would be injured. In any given 24-hour period, there are on average 12 million people in the full blast range, all four circles of the simulated detonation. Thermal radiation would hit Santa Monica, Calabasas, Long Beach, and parts of Pomona as well. Next up, we have Chicago.
Chicago.
In any given 24-hour period, there are on average 7.6 million people in the full blast range of the radius of the simulated.
The radiation is going to spread through the whole United States. The radiation will spread through the whole world.
Million injuries.
Just because your city don't get hit don't mean you're not going to be affected.
About half of the blast's total area would reach across Lake Michigan.
You're not safe if your city doesn't get hit.
Poison the water as well.
You're still not safe.
Up next, we have Houston, Texas. This is my neck of the woods here. In Houston,
Texas.
There are on average 5.3 million people in the full blast range of all four circles of this simulated detonation. At any given 24-hour period, 1.2 million people would lose their lives. 1.9 million would sustain injuries. And in case you're wondering, yeah, I would, where I'm at right now, I would be vaporized. I'm right in the heart of the city. I do have some other locations probably that I could go to. I see the Woodlands is out of that blast range. But where I'm currently at, I would have 15 minutes to try to get out. And I don't know if you guys have been in Houston City before, but 15 minutes, there's no chance from where I'm at.
No, just stay home.
So if you are in the heart of the city, you have got to think to yourself, okay, what am I going to do? And I've only
you ain't going to know when the missile's coming. You'll be sleeping.
Now, in addition to that, I'm also going to be covering for you guys what FEMA is saying. The government has released an update as to what you need to take into consideration and the safest states. I'm going to show you that map as well. But let's go ahead and continue on to the next city so you can see an update here.
Another city.
Phoenix,
Arizona.
Pretty much all of Phoenix is just gone. Some 972,000 people would lose their lives in Phoenix. 1.4 would suffer injuries. In any given 24-hour period, there are on average 3.8 million people in the full blast range of this simulated detonation in Phoenix. Up next on the list, we have Philadelphia.
Oh.
An estimated 1.6 million people would lose their
lives. Where my shit at?
On average, 5.9 million people in the full blast range of all four circles.
Oh man!
Of the simulated detonation in any
I'm done.
Period, some 1.9 million people.
That's me right there.
In the city.
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Up next, we have here San Antonio, and San Antonio, you can also see just pretty much engulfed by this, much smaller than some of the other cities we've covered.
I'm going to get incinerated, y'all.
2 million people in the blast range of all four circles of the simulated detonation in any 24-hour period in San Antonio, where 761,000 people would lose their lives. 754 people would be injured. Up next, we have San Diego. Some 968,000 people would lose their lives in San Diego, while 1.6 million would sustain injuries in any given 24-hour period. There are an average of 4.5 million people in the full blast range of all four circles. They nuked Philly. You can see this.
I'm like two hours from Philly.
Mexico. They would feel this.
I would get incinerated my damn self.
Up next, we have Dallas, and you can see, wow, this reaches all the way out to Fort Worth. They would feel this blast from this type of nuclear bomb, which, just to clarify again,
Dallas,
multiple times more powerful.
That's the whole damn country.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The technology that
the radiation going to spread.
The United States, for that matter,
fast
is multiple times more than what we saw.
If y'all city don't get hit, y'all ain't safe, damn it.
Dallas, in any given 24-hour period, there are.
I won't even know because I'm going to be incinerated. I won't know whose city got blown up because I'm going to be gone. Damn it. Beatmaster going to be gone.
Would suffer injuries in this scenario in Dallas. Now, things are currently escalating with all of the conflict that is going on. And we have heard that they have actually released, FEMA has released what it is that you need to take into consideration as these blasts, if they were to occur and unfold. And again, these are not all of the cities. These are just some that they have demonstrations to show you what it would look like if you reside in these cities. Now, let me know.
Demonstrations, y'all.
Cities that I've covered.
Demonstrations.
Again, I have covered for you Washington, D.C., New York, Los Angeles. I covered Chicago, Houston, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Arizona, San Antonio, and San Diego. Drop a 1 if you live in any of these cities. Drop a 2 if you live in a different city. Let me know in the comments. But we're hearing
I'm dropping a 1, Steve.
Ones that they felt were so significant to take a look at, that they've actually mapped out what the nuclear blast would look like if these.
But I'll take a 2.
You are in those cities. Drop a 1. If you're not, drop a 2
for $50.
Again, just to clarify, these are not all of them on the list. I see people mentioning other cities, and yes, as we also saw on that state map as well, they said that if you're in Hawaii, that's probably the last state you want to be if we have nuclear fallout, because the devastation is going to be terrible, and you're going to be literally on an island while the fallout is happening. It's going to be really bad. You don't want to be in Hawaii, they said, when the nuclear apocalypse hits. Now, while you're dropping those twos, do me a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please hit the like button.
He said when.
Appreciate the updates. Also, thank you
for the super chat. He should have said if.
Steve, I didn't like you not.
He's saying when,
yo. Oh, yeah. Family and I went out of town with some friends for a little bit. We didn't get back in time for me to do any updates, but there was a lot that unfolded. So I'm going to be getting you guys caught up. Don't worry. I'm going to be making up for it here in some videos, because there is a lot.
Steve ran for the content
right now with all the conflicts taking place around the world. And we're hearing that there are potentially some ceasefire agreements that could be underway, but we got to see what is going to be unfolding here. Now, let's take a look at this information coming out regarding the radiation guide from FEMA. So again, just to clarify, in case you missed it, we have heard that in the past couple of days, FEMA has recently done an update on their nuclear guide to prevent radiation. Now, we had been discussing this here on the channel, saying, when is the United States going to be, giving some updates to its people? We're seeing the UK, Sweden, Finland, Norway, all of them saying, hey, here's some pamphlets on what to do in case there's nuclear fallout. We're concerned about World War III, nuclear war. Putin said this is global war. A former defense minister for Ukraine said this is World War III. We heard that Germany is preparing to send over 800,000 NATO troops to Ukraine to help fight against Russia, because they said they believe we are currently in World War III right now. And a lot of people are saying, hey, Joe Biden, the US, what's the deal? What is going on here with preparing our citizens? So let me go ahead and share with you the latest that has come out, as we do have an update regarding what to do in case of a fallout. Now, this article says, with Russian President Vladimir Putin threatening to use nuclear weapons in the country's war against Ukraine, and with the Middle East conflicts involving various groups, the U.S. and its European allies are informing citizens how to respond should a nuclear attack occur. The Federal Emergency Agency, or FEMA, has compiled a 258-page planning guidance for response to a nuclear detonation that begins, if a nuclear detonation occurred in an American city, it would be one of the most catastrophic incidences in the U.S. that it has ever experienced. Now, in this latest advice to be prepared for a nuclear explosion, FEMA says a nuclear explosion may occur with a few minutes warnings or without any warning at all. Now, what I read from this particular guide, but I'm not going to go through the entire guide for you, it is pretty lengthy. I have hyperlinks down below. They said they anticipate that you'll probably have about 15 minutes. Once notifications or whatever go out, you'll probably have 15 minutes to figure out what to do. So again, look at those blast radius maps that I just shared with you, and you can kind of determine what you're going to do now. So for me, I'm literally in the heart of Houston. I'm right in the center of the city. So 15 minutes, I'm not going to make it. I don't know. I've got to either figure out, I've got to use one of my other resources outside of the city, or I don't know, or I just got to realize, hey, it's time to be, I will totally be vaporized in my current location. Mary, thank you for the $5 super chat.
Vaporized.
With Jesus.
I said incinerated. It's the same damn thing.
Promised, whether it's nuclear apocalypse,
incinerated,
you walk off
vaporized.
by a car.
What's the difference?
You never know when your time is up. Now, they said nuclear explosions can cause significant damage and casualties from blasts, heat, and radiation, but you can keep your family safe by knowing what to do and being prepared if it were to occur, the agency said. Fallout is the most dangerous in the first few hours after the detonation, when it is given off the highest levels of radiation. The preparation document says, it takes time for the fallout to arrive back to ground level, often more than 15 minutes for areas outside of the immediate blast damage zone. This is enough time for you to be able to prevent significant radiation exposure. So
happy birthday,
takes time for the fallout to arrive back to ground level, often more than 15 minutes for areas outside of the immediate blast damage zone. So again, you got 15 minutes to try to figure out what to do. The document stresses 3 steps: get inside, and stay tuned. It's advised to remain indoors for at least 24 hours or until further instructions are given. Family members should not attempt to reunite with each other outside of the house, outside the house to avoid radiation exposure. People should stay informed through available media channels.
Radiation can come to the cracks of your door.
Situation and safety announcement. Hawaii, Nevada, California, Arizona, New York. They were identified as the most dangerous states to live in during a nuclear apocalypse. And again, drop a 1 if you live in Hawaii, Nevada, California, Arizona, or New York. If you live in those states, they're saying that you have a much lower survival rate. They're saying these are the states you do not want to be in when the nuclear fallout hits. And also, I shared with you specifically just a little while ago, the maps that show the blast radiuses of specific cities where they said there are major targets on these cities for nuclear fallout from Russia. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, Anthony Rains. Anything on Utah? We have a nuclear base here, I believe. Repent. I'll take a look at the map with you. I know that this is not the entirety of the list, but these are just some of the ones that they have highlighted. So it says, according to the non-depositorydaily.com, Vermont, so they're saying Vermont is the #1 safest state where you want to be in the event of a nuclear attack, closely followed by Maine, Louisiana, Wyoming, and New Hampshire.
Why is that? Why can't they get hit with the missile?
Maine, Louisiana, Wyoming, and New Hampshire, drop a 3 in the comments. Let me know.
Why can't they get hit?
If you are in the states that
Vermont,
they're saying are the safest.
Maine,
if you are
Louisiana,
in
Wyoming, New Hampshire could get hit
in the comments
with a missile too.
None of these dictators will ever take their lives, and the Bible says that the destruction will come from God.
How they know that's the safest spot?
Nor North Korea or Putin or Iran. They will never end their lives, says JP. JP, thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that a ton. Thank you for that comment. I will continue to keep you up to date on everything. And I'm seeing 1s and I'm seeing some 3s. There are some people in the chats that are saying they're in the safest places to be. Kevin, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says he's in East Chicago, Indiana. Yes, Chicago is on the map. I just covered it for you. Chicago not looking good if they were to drop one of those nuclear weapons. Now, reading on, it says, if Putin and Russia's adversaries become involved in a nuclear war, there are certain countries that are potentially could offer sanctuary, according to the Express. Now, the #1 I've heard is Australia. I've heard the Southern Hemisphere is where you want to be. The Southern Hemisphere is likely going to be the safest location. They're saying North America, Russia, all of the North is likely going to be devastated and then hit with the nuclear winter afterwards. Sun will be blotted out. It'll be difficult to grow crops. Very low chance of survival. Now, safe haven places: Antarctica, Iceland, New Zealand, Switzerland, Greenland, Indonesia, Argentina,
I forgot about the
Tuvalu,
nuclear winter,
Bhutan,
afterwards,
Chile, and South Africa. And again, I've heard it's those Southern Hemisphere nations where you want to be. So again, FEMA releasing an updated guide just recently, the past couple of days, we're hearing saying, hey, US, you want to be ready. Now, let's take a look at the states. Nuclear apocalypse maps shows the best and worst US states to live in case of Armageddon. So as I mentioned, we already covered Hawaii is where you do not want to be. And Vermont turns out to be one of the safest locations for some reason, primarily probably because it is not going to be a main target. There are so many other populous states or military sites that they will want to hit as opposed to Vermont. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this article. It says, a new study has revealed that the safest and most dangerous states to live in during a nuclear apocalypse using key survival indicators. The topic of nuclear attacks is increasingly on people's minds due to the popularity of the Fallout series and
Vermont will be the safest state. I don't understand how they say, why won't Vermont get hit by a missile? I don't understand.
Followed by Maine, Louisiana, Wyoming, and New Hampshire. Studies used 18 key indicators grouped into categories such as weapons and security, supplies and survival resources, population densities, medical services, now nuclear threat. Jeff Kittle, $2 super chat. I live 8 miles from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Yes, and again, these are not the complete extensive list, just ones that they have primarily highlighted. And I've done other ones where we have covered maps that have been shown, but this is the most recent updates coming out just a couple of days ago, and pretty detailed information on the ones they're releasing, showing the radius blasts and the extent of the damage, which is, it's pretty amazing what they're releasing on this. Now, each state was scored out of 100 based on these factors. At the other end of the scale, Hawaii, Nevada, California, Arizona, and New York have been identified as the most dangerous states to live in during a nuclear apocalypse. So if you're in Hawaii, Nevada, California, Arizona, that is primarily the West Coast. They're saying the West Coast is the most susceptible, basically, to being hit by Russia, China, North Korea with nuclear weapons, and also New York. And also, I share with you on that map some other major cities: Washington, D.C., Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, some other areas. Bing Maps data was utilized to create the maps calculating relevant facilities in each state. For example, weapons and security is evaluated based on the number of police stations, access to weapons, and fire stations in each state as well. Beyond the looking glass, thank you for the $5 super chat. What about New Mexico and the city of Albuquerque? Kirkland Air Force Base in Albuquerque is home to the largest nuke storage, 2,500 nukes here. Yeah, I definitely think that those would be primary targets as well.